Hi, I'm Maria Contreras-Sweet, Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration. At SBA, we're dedicated to helping small business owners and those who would like to be a small business owner start, grow, and succeed in their business ventures. Every large business started as a small company, and we've helped some of the most recognizable brands along their journey to success. FedEx, Apple, Under Armour, AOL, Ben & Jerry's, Dogfish Head, Stonyfield Farm, Tom's of Maine, Nike, JetBlue Airways, Chobani, just to name a few. For people throughout the United States and all our territories, SBA is here to help at any stage of your business, from writing a business plan to securing working capital to exporting your products overseas. SBA has district offices across the country. These offices help entrepreneurs with what we call 3 C's and a D: contracting, counseling, capital, and disaster assistance. Government contracting can be a critical tool for growing your small business. The government has many categories of contract opportunities set aside exclusively for small businesses. These help level the playing field for women, for veterans, and the socially and the economically disadvantaged. SBA also offers participation in matchmaking events and the Mentor-Protege program to help small businesses compete more successfully for federal government contracts. Through our district offices and extensive network of resource partners, SBA offers hands-on training, mentoring, and expert advice tailored to your needs. Our online learning center is also available around the clock, so you can explore, take training courses at your convenience. Many entrepreneurs need financial resources to start or expand a small business, and they must combine what they have with other sources of financing. While SBA doesn't loan money directly to small business owners, we can help facilitate a loan with a third-party lender, such as a bank or credit union, by guaranteeing that a certain portion of the loan will be repaid. SBA guaranteed loans can be used for various business needs, including replenishing seasonal inventory, building expansion or renovation, purchasing equipment, and working capital. Finally, when a natural disaster is declared, such as a flood, a wildfire, a hurricane, a tornado, or an earthquake, SBA is there to help business owners, homeowners, and renters pick up the pieces and get on their feet. We offer low-interest, long-term disaster assistance for loans for physical and economic damage caused by a declared disaster. So are you ready to start or grow your small business? Visit SBA.gov to learn more about how we can help and to find the location of your nearest SBA district office or resource partner. We're the U.S. Small Business Administration, your small business resource.
successful business owners and entrepreneurs. A big thank you to Microsoft for your platinum level sponsorship of National Small Business Week and for hosting us here today at this beautiful facility. Lastly, and on behalf of the SBA, I want to thank all of Greater Boston's organizations and individuals that collaborated with us to create today's programs, as well as a special recognition of the City of Boston and the City of Cambridge. I'd like to specifically recognize as well Bob Nelson and his team for all the hard work that you've put in. Bob is our district director here in Massachusetts. And we couldn't have done this without his leadership and his team's hard work and effort. At this time, I have the great pleasure and honor to introduce Bella Dante, an 8th grader at Boston Latin School. Bella is a talented singer who received a scholarship to the Berklee School of Music in 2012 and is a member of the gospel choir at Boston Latin. She will sing the national anthem. Bella?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets of red glare, the bombs bursting in air, and gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you.
Thank you, Bella Dante. Truly inspiring. So for those listening online and here in the room, we have a great lineup, as I said earlier, and we're going to kick it off this morning with our first speaker. Our first speaker is Anne-Marie Levins, and it's my pleasure to introduce her. She is Associate General Counsel here at Microsoft. Anne-Marie leads the civic engagement work for the Technology and Civic Engagement Group here. She is a founder of the Microsoft Innovation and Policy Center in New England, which focuses on issues at the intersection of technology, law, and policy. She serves on the Mass Tech Leadership Council and New England Council and the board of Kendall Square Association. She is a graduate, just like myself, of the University of School Main of Law, which I'm very proud to say, and was a clerk for Justice Lewis Powell of the United States Supreme Court. It's my great honor to introduce Anne-Marie Levins.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. It is a privilege to welcome you to Microsoft's New England Research and Development Center. On behalf of Microsoft, I want to say I hope you come back often. We make this conference space available for all kinds of activities, including small business activities. Since we opened our doors in 2007, we've hosted over 3,000 individual events. And just last week, I believe it was, we hit our 200,000th visitor in the conference space. So welcome, we're delighted to have you. And a special welcome to Administrator Contreras-Sweet. It's just a privilege to have her here with us today and to have all of you. You know, Microsoft didn't start off as a big business with 100,000 people. We started off as a small business. So we are committed to small businesses in many ways, partly because it's our roots, but partly because our customers are small businesses and our partners are small businesses. And we know that our business and our business success depends on making the world better for small businesses. We also know that small businesses as an engine of the American economy is really, really important. And to help that community, your community, be successful is a critical part of our mission. We believe the technology and the innovation that technology can bring to your businesses can help you be more efficient, help you be more effective in reaching your customers, and in the long run make you more successful and help you become a larger business if that's what you choose to do. So we're just delighted to be part of this. We have a great program for you today with lots of interesting people. Gail Goodwin is a good friend and a great partner to Microsoft. We're delighted to have her keynoting. So with that, let me say I'm thrilled to have you here. I hope that you learn a lot, that this fourth day of National Small Business Week is the best day that you have, and we hope you'll be back again for more programs and more SBA programs. So on behalf of Microsoft, welcome and thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for welcoming us. Next will be the administrator, and I have a great opportunity to have gotten to know the administrator. She is new to the position. She was appointed just a month ago. She is in a cabinet level position. The president and President Obama cares very deeply about small business. They create 2 out of 3 private sector jobs. And for that reason, the administrator, of course, and her passion based on her background, she's very focused on making sure that she travels and provides significant outreach all across the country. And it's a great honor to have her here in Boston because she knows how much innovation is happening here and how we can take this innovation out to other parts of the country, other corners of the country, in order to make sure small businesses can utilize technology and grow their businesses, because obviously the world is changing. Now, in regards to the administrator's background, is a long, successful one that's really led by leadership and great success. Maria Contreras-Sweet was sworn in, as I mentioned, a month ago by Vice President Biden as the next and newest and current small business administrator. She's a successful entrepreneur, corporate executive, and public servant. Throughout her career, she has been a champion of access to capital and equal opportunity for all Americans. The administrator started 3 different businesses in Los Angeles. One of those businesses was a community business bank that provided capital and counseling to other small businesses. She has been a small business lender and a small business leader. We're so fortunate to have someone leading the SBA in 2014 who truly understands our work and the work of every small business. This is not the administrator's first leadership position in the public sector. In California, she served as a state cabinet secretary in California, overseeing transportation, housing, and business. Prior to that, she was a former vice president at Westinghouse and an equity partner at the 7-Up RC Bottling Company. The administrator is a fighter for America's small businesses, and she's a member of the president's cabinet. She's a very busy lady, a very successful leader, and we're so honored that she is here to celebrate National Small Business Week in Boston. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you our newest administrator, Maria Contreras-Sweet.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. That was very, very generous. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was so gracious. Very, very nice. And, usually when you come to one of these, I've been traveling across the country, I always say, gee, I wish my son had heard that lovely introduction. But fortunately, ladies and gentlemen, today he did. Antonio has been living here for the last 5 years at a little school up the river that starts with an H, but I won't say. I know where I am right now. But ladies and gentlemen, my husband always says, when we take any bow, any gracious sign of affirmation, it's nice to share it. And so he always likes to say that he met Maria Contreras and then he made me sweet because he's Ray Sweet. But so anyway, Antonio, thank you so much for being here and for cutting out of class. But my new family that I've been enjoying so much is the SBA family, and to have traveled across the country to meet the incredible team that we have, the partners like SCORE, like the Women's Business Centers, like the Veterans Business Opportunity Centers, our CDCs, our SBDCs, and our 68 district offices. It's an incredibly vast, impressive operation, and I'm just so proud to be a part of that family. So I want to thank somebody who welcomed me in at the onset, and that is the interim administrator for the SBA. I want to thank Jean Hewlett. I understand she's in the house. Jean, are you here? Jean, thank you so much. She did a remarkable job, and you need to know that it's so incredibly warming and heartening to walk into an operation and have somebody who has her firm skills and her incredible vast banking experience brought to bear at the SBA. You did us all a great deal of an enormous gratitude that we have for you. Thank you so much, Jean, again. Thank you. And you all know that Seth, who was very generous in his introduction, has been a stalwart leader also in elected office and now serving us at the SBA. And so we're delighted to have him, as well as Bob Nelson, who have been leading this district and making it #1 over and over and over in so many ways. And the entire SBA team that helped us pull all this together, along with all of the other partners. SBA team, will you please stand up and take a bow? Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I'm delighted to be here in Boston on day 4 of Small Business Week. It's been an inspiring experience week, and just the people with whom we've been able to connect has been quite rewarding. I want to tell you that in San Francisco and in Kansas City, we focused on the transformative power of social media to make sure that people understood that social media can take you to the next level, that it helps to level the playing field for small businesses. It used to take millions of dollars in marketing and buys to make a small business a big one. Not anymore, not with companies like Microsoft and Twitter and so many other companies. Today's entrepreneurs can use social media tools to build personal relationships with consumers and community across the world. At our kickoff event at Twitter headquarters, we heard from an aspiring 10-year-old entrepreneur, Vivian Har. She saw a photo of 2 enslaved brothers in Nepal, and it broke her heart. She used her Twitter account to set up a lemonade stand that raised more than $100,000 to combat child slavery across the world. Speaking of young people, what did you all think of Bella Dante this morning? Was that incredible? Big shout out to Bella. But I was so pleased to meet Vivian and talk to her, and I understood her, I could feel her sincerity and how much pain she felt when she saw that photo. Today, after setting up that lemonade stand and raising that $100,000, she started a lemonade packaging company, and she called it Make a Stand. And it's being sold now in major grocery stores throughout the country, large stores, and stores like Whole Foods. Vivian is 10 years old. She started what could soon be a $2 million business based on her momentum and her trajectory, and she's appealing to all of our hearts. It's a powerful message that people around the world are now heartening with. They're paying attention to social media, and they want to support businesses that believe in doing well by doing good. Performance with purpose. Today, we're going to hear another incredible story. I had an opportunity to meet earlier with Gail Goodman of Constant Contact. How many of us all have benefited from that experience? She built her small firm into a company with more than 1,200 employees by teaching others about 21st century marketing in a socially connected age. We are pleased to be with our friends at Mass Challenge today. They're one of the world's leading accelerators. In California, you all know we have the Bay Area. We were there Monday. We announced the SBA's new accelerator program. We announced that we're offering a $2.5 million prize money to accelerators dedicated to helping startups grow quickly and create quality jobs now. We're exporting the Silicon and the Massachusetts model to the heartland to help Main Street move forward. The companies that worked with Mass Challenge have raised $500 million in capital, and they've created more than 4,000 jobs. Bravo, congratulations to Mass Challenge for that incredible accomplishment. Thank you, yes. On Tuesday, National Small Business Week took us to Kansas City, where we focused on the Main Street businesses that are the backbone of our economy. We heard from two very special brothers about how to turn a small business into a really big one. In 1946, they started a small bookkeeping company in Kansas City, and they helped some of their clients, just a little on the side, do a little tax work. Today, they're helping taxpayers across the country get their $1 billion back. You may have heard and seen their commercial. You may have heard about this little company that's now grown. It's called H&R Block. They employ now 100,000 tax professionals and prepare 1 in every 7 tax returns in America. Yes, even those guys started small. Tomorrow in Washington, D.C., we're going to wrap up by announcing the 2014 National Small Business Person of the Year. But today, our focus is on innovation. The New England R&D Center makes for a wonderful acronym. It's hard to believe that the word nerd used to be a schoolyard taunt. And of course, we always remembered cookies and bites were something that we talked about in the context of eating. But today, we don't think of disruption in a bad context. Disruption is something which we're seeking. Today, being called a nerd is high flattery because they're the thinkers, the visionaries, the trendsetters of the 21st century. It's never been cooler to be a nerd. You have to watch our 10:45 panel today. It might be the coolest session in the history of the National Small Business Week. On that panel, we're going to be hearing from a guy named Carl Dietrich and an American small business called Terrafugia. Terrafugia, now I know in Boston, we're all really, and I enjoyed my duck tour, and it was very exciting to see something move from the road into the water. Ladies and gentlemen, Terrafugia is going to make cars that can fly. If you've ever seen Back to the Future, the movie, that future could be upon us faster than you think. Terrafugia is a small company today with 25 employees. They're located right here in Boston. In 2 years, this small firm plans to bring to market a vehicle that, yes, can be flown into an airport and driven off the tarmac and onto the highway. It runs on premium unleaded, and it converts from a car to a plane, get this, in less than a minute. Like taking the roof up or down on your convertible. Carl's small business is working on an even more transformative vehicle, what he calls a flying car for the masses. It would run on an autopilot and take off and land on a helipad that would fit on a tennis court. This is not Boeing or Lockheed on the verge of making the flying car a commercial reality. It's a small business right here in Boston. Throughout most of our American history, it's been one of our larger corporations, and we are grateful to them for the advancements they've made on behalf of our country. Companies such as Xerox, companies such as GM, DuPont, they served for so many years as our laboratories for innovation. They invented and produced game-changing technologies like the computer, the mouse, Teflon. Make no mistake, there's still powerful R&D happening in those companies like Microsoft that we see today. But increasingly, innovation is coming from our small business sector. They're producing the high growth, high paying jobs that will help America maintain an economic leadership for the next generation. Everywhere I go, whether I'm in Uruguay, Argentina, or Jordan, people sometimes sort of sneer and say, oh, the American. But I have to tell you, when we are not present, they worry. They want America to be strong. They want to make sure that we build our middle class. They want to know that America is going to be there as the global cop to assure that we build out the middle class, that we continue to move the world forward, and that we scale down despotism. So we need to make sure that our country is strong. National Small Business Week is a time when we celebrate the risk takers who make the wheels of our economy turn. America's 28 million small businesses create nearly two out of 3 new jobs in our economy, employing half of our private sector workforce. So you can't have a conversation about creating jobs and economic growth without talking about the entrepreneurs who are the lifeblood of our economy. President Obama issued a proclamation for the National Small Business Week this year. He said, "We must ensure entrepreneurs, even those who are not wealthy, have the resources to take business to the next level." I agree. If we create a more level playing field, the best ideas will rise to the top, opportunity will flourish, and America will prosper. President Obama is passionate about supporting small businesses. It's why he created a brand new seat in his cabinet for someone whose entire job is to make small business job growth easier. I've started 3 small businesses, as was said by Seth at the beginning, and I'll never stop fighting for entrepreneurs because I know the pain, the agony, the struggle, and the triumph of entrepreneurship. I want every small business owner in America to get to know your SBA because we want to be your partner. We're not a revenue sharing partner, we're the best kind of partner, a consultative partner that is silent and still takes 0%. Our payoff is to help you build a successful business that creates jobs and puts Americans back to work. The SBA has paid staff and volunteers fanned out in communities across America to help our small businesses succeed. So if you want to learn more about it and you are in the reach of our voice and you are not able to capture every solution that you're seeking, I hope that you'll go to sba.gov for more answers. Just click on the local assistance button to find out how we can help you. We help you in so many ways, but the 3 stalwarts, if you will. First, you know us as capital. You know that we can help get capital on more favorable terms to start and to grow your business. The famous 504, 7A, and so many other loan products that we have. Second, I know that you've heard about our counseling through our many partners that I described at the top of my remarks, like the veterans programs, women's programs, emerging entrepreneur programming. So we want to make sure that your business plan gets in shape and how to take your company to the next level. The third, so many of you say, okay, I've got my business plan. I now have my access to capital. Now, how do I get work? And so it's important that we do, like we're doing today, matchmaking sessions so you can land contracts that come from government or the corporate sector or maybe even in international opportunities. So that's capital, counseling, and contracts. We don't want to talk right now about the D because we're focused on the C's, but if you ever, and I hope that we don't find this situation befall this region, but when there is a disaster, a natural disaster, our disaster relief program is quite remarkable. I had an opportunity in week 2 of my service. I'm now on day 34, but in week 2 I went to the state of Washington to see those families, the victims of that mudslide, and it was just such a sad situation, but it made me proud to be a part of SBA, to see how quickly that in 24 hours after that presidential declaration, we were there, and just a few days later, we had already approved hundreds of thousands of dollars of relief. On the first C, capital, the SBA has supported more loans to our small businesses in the last 5 years than at any other time in our history. Our loan volume has totaled $146 billion since President Obama took office. Our Small Business Innovation Research Program, which this community partakes of so generously, known as SBIR on the street, and it's a university-driven counterpart that it has, the STTR, where we actually help file the patents, have provided innovative small firms with $38 billion in early stage research grants. SBIR funded 5 small businesses that worked with NASA, for example, to design the Mars rover Curiosity, which is exploring the planet's surface as we speak right now. On the second C, the counseling, we provided mentorship and strategic advice to more than 1 million business owners every single year. We do that, 1 million every year. We have hundreds of small business development centers, as I've mentioned, from the women business centers to our outreach centers for the veterans and the SBA 68 district offices. Our seasoned business executives with SCORE operate out of 800 locations in communities across our country. They log, imagine this is volunteer, they log more than 1 million hours every year because they want to give back and offer their knowledge and experience. They do one-on-one counseling, or in some instances, come right to your place of business. But wherever you meet, one thing remains the same. Their coaching and their mentoring services are pro bono, free, gratis, gratis in any language that you might choose. On the third C, contracts, we oversee the federal government's supply chain for small businesses. You know, some people are fortunate enough to have a great, wonderful uncle who can open doors for them. We all want one of those uncles, but now you have Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is the largest buyer in the world, purchasing $400 billion of goods and services every year. Some people have an uncle, as I said. I already said that line. We also help small businesses plug into the supply chain of Fortune 500 companies. This is an important note. Small firms that enter large corporations see an increase in their profits of 250%. So we want to make sure that we're helping you, and the SBA can help you go global too. We counseled more than 15,000 entrepreneurs interested in exporting, and we shattered our record for export finance, supporting $3 billion in lending. In 2014, we're part of a global economy today, and we understand the global opportunities that many of our small businesses have never been contemplated. SBA can help entrepreneurs capitalize on these opportunities. Anyway, just in closing, I want to say that on your path to success, the SBA can help at every key milestone that you encounter, whether it's the counseling, as I said, the capital, or contracting opportunities. It doesn't matter if you're running a consulting service, a professional service, a janitorial supply company, an e-commerce website, or the next big thing in high tech. The SBA is here for you. My lament is that for so long as I was starting my 3 businesses and my last one where I started a community bank, that I wish I had known more and understood more about the wonderful and the rich offerings that we have here at SBA. I want to take this opportunity. I'm a salesperson. I always call for the sale. I want to urge you to go to sba.gov and to make sure that you are able to connect with these services. But also, we need to learn to find ways to support each other. We need to shop small, buy small, so that we can partner with each other and compete internationally. Your support of small business, when you're supporting local jobs and local opportunities, you know that you're supporting your neighbors. In the spirit of the week, I want to invite every one of you to Twitter to keep the national conversation going. So in San Francisco, when we met at the Twitter headquarters, I launched my new handle, as my son calls it, my handle, and it's a MCS, my initials, Maria Contreras, MCS for Biz. And so I hope that you will communicate with me so we can keep this wonderful national conversation going, and use the hashtag SBW2014. I'm delighted to be here to share with you how important this work is for me. You may, I haven't had a chance to connect with each of you individually, but I came here as an immigrant at the age of 5, and there were so many people who helped me along the way. And I can tell you that my grandmother just kept saying, if you bring others along, if you help replicate your success, although we've been a family of migrant workers, someday you may be able to work in an office and maybe even be a secretary. Well, I'm delighted that the good Lord heard her prayers, and he allowed me to hold office and to be a cabinet secretary over finance and real estate and banking and so many wonderful things. But these opportunities can only be replicated in America with such bounty. And so let us come together, support and honor the small business community, the frontier people, the people who are taking so much risk and innovate and create jobs. As I said, let's all come together and grow America to be the incredible freedom leader that it is in the world, to make sure that we're avoiding despotism and building and filling the opportunity gap. Ladies and gentlemen, build your businesses, build your community, and build this country. God bless you, and God bless America.
Administrator Contreras-Sweet. I was fortunate to be able to sit in on a few conversations earlier with the administrator when she was speaking to some local press. And she was sharing a story about how at her bank she was very committed to counseling and explaining opportunities to business owners and entrepreneurs, and how she helped this one woman succeed and really exceed any dreams or imaginations she ever had. So that's what she's pushing all of us to do. That's what she's pushing all the resource partners to do. And that's what our commitment is at the SBA. And I really want to thank her for her guidance and leadership, because we can do more, we want to do more, because we want to be here for every small business. Thank you, Administrator. Now we're going to hear from one of our key partners. One of our key partners is, of course, our congressional delegations in each state. Here in Massachusetts, we have a wonderful delegation. Some of the staff members are here today. They are very important in the role of connecting businesses with government and having us help troubleshoot problems or explaining potential opportunities, such as you heard from the administrator. On that note, we're very fortunate to have a video today from U.S. Senator Markey. Senator Markey sends his regrets. He could not be here in person today. However, he is very committed to small business, so he sent us a video which I'll play shortly to help us celebrate National Small Business Week. Senator Markey served in the U.S. House of Representatives for 37 years until recently, when he was elected to the Senate in a special election in June of 2013. Senator Markey serves on the U.S. Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship, and it's really honored to have his video being played here today. So please run the video.
Good morning, I'm Senator Ed Markey. During National Small Business Week, we come together to recognize and celebrate small businesses in Massachusetts. The overwhelming attendance is a testament to the Small Business Administration's support and strength offered to the small business community of Massachusetts. We are the hub for innovation and entrepreneurship, so it is imperative to have an organization like SBA able to keep up with the leading minds of these companies. America's innovation, competitiveness, and job creation depend upon small businesses, especially our nation's 28 million small businesses, to foster innovative and cutting-edge research and then commercialize their technological innovations. In Massachusetts, approximately 1.4 million people work for small businesses that help keep local economies strong, strengthening both our state and our nation's economy. Small businesses help give anyone with a good idea and a willingness to work hard the opportunity to succeed. Throughout my service in Congress, I have been a strong advocate for small businesses, their employees, and working families. While serving in the U.S. House of Representatives, I was proud to lead the fight to ensure that the Small Business Innovative Research Program survived. The SBIR program has a 3-decade track record of investing critical funds in the cutting-edge ideas, technologies, and companies that will help foster innovation and help rebuild our economy. Whether it is creating new, non-invasive approaches to detecting cancer in Watertown, or developing painless bedside muscle evaluations for children in Woburn, SBIR has helped push small businesses in the Commonwealth to new levels of discovery and success. In the last 4 years alone, Massachusetts has benefited from 3,072 awards totaling over $1 billion. As a member of the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee in the Senate, I will work in a bipartisan manner to enact legislation that helps protect the Bay State's small businesses. I also want to congratulate Maria Contreras-Sweet on being confirmed SBA Administrator. I was proud to vote in support of Maria's nomination. With Maria at the helm, SBA now stands for Smarter, Bolder Actions. Maria will lead and build the resources necessary to help each and every company and innovative idea that will grow the businesses of the future. The Small Business Administration has helped small businesses meet the challenging economic environment. I also want to create our Small Business of the Year recipients and champions for their outstanding and invaluable service to our community. These businesses run the gamut of specialty foods, engineering, technology, entertainment, and vehicles for military and law enforcement. Each of these businesses is a great asset to Massachusetts. Small business not only grow our economy and serve as the #1 job creator, but they develop and enhance our communities. I am proud to represent the small businesses of our Commonwealth in the Senate. I look forward to working with the SBA to continue to grow our small business community here in Massachusetts. That is why Nikki Songus and I fought to make sure that the SBIR was protected for small businesses, because we both knew how many tens of thousands of jobs had been created in Massachusetts. We have to preserve and enhance those opportunities. I'm really looking forward to working with you in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you to Senator Markey, the other members of Congress here from Massachusetts, as well as their tireless staff, some of those members of staff who are here today. So next up, for those listening online and watching online and those here in the Microsoft Center, we have our keynote address. And we're very fortunate to have Gail Goodman present that. Gail is a small business expert and visionary and has revolutionized the way that small businesses and organizations build relationships with their customers and members. Since taking leadership of Constant Contact in 1999, she has led the company to a successful IPO and has been the architect of the company's growth of 1,200 plus employees and 7 office locations, including one in the United Kingdom. Today, more than 500,000 customers use Constant Contact's online marketing tools to engage their customers and grow their businesses. Gail has authored Engagement Marketing, How Small Businesses Succeed in a Socially Connected World, and is a frequent speaker at national technology and entrepreneurial events. She sits on the Massachusetts Technology Leadership Council Board of Trustees and the National SCORE Board of Directors, one of our resource partners, and is chairman of the board at Constant Contact. It's a great honor to introduce Gail Goodman.
Great to be here. Yeah, you want to click me on in the back here, and then we'll get my slides going. So I am very excited to be here with you for Small Business Week. At Constant Contact, I feel like we got like the double honor. You know, we were a small business that served small businesses, right? So everything in my last 15 years has been about helping small businesses be successful. And so Small Business Week every year is just a fantastic celebratory moment for us at Constant Contact, and I think for small businesses everywhere. So excited to be here. We're taking a week to celebrate what you do all year around. So let's start with kind of, here's to you. is powerful. The administrator already shared the stats I was going to share, but they're worth saying again. Small employs half of the private workforce and creates 2/3 of the new jobs in the United States. But what's really cool is that when a small business succeeds, their community succeeds as well. For every dollar we as consumers spend in a small business, almost 70 cents stays in the local community. Small is powerful. But what's also interesting is that small is powerful in marketing. You are natural marketers. This is usually the point where my credibility falls off a cliff. Natural marketers, marketing makes me nervous. Actually, you have a competitive advantage in marketing. And so my goal for today is to really convince you that marketing is easier for small businesses and give you some ideas, simple, inexpensive, powerful ideas to help you grow your business. Because it's Small Business Week. And what's more important than helping you grow your business? So, no, I am not crazy. Marketing is actually easier for small businesses. And it's not hard or expensive. But it starts by understanding where your advantage comes from. So I'm going to dive into that. Your advantage may be obvious, but often ignored. Real relationships. Right? You are naturally unbelievably close to your customer. Right? You don't need focus groups and national research. You talk to them literally every day. And that gives you a huge advantage that's very easily to translate into real revenue growth and more business. That first starts with the ability to actually create a meaningfully different experience, a wow experience. Think about it as rising above the ordinary in small ways that delight your customer or client. This is the sad truth. The bar is really low. Right? The customer experience bar is really low, and what small businesses do better than anyone else is rise above that. It doesn't need to be expensive. It just needs to be real. It needs to kind of bring a smile to the face of the client or the customer in front of you. So number one, you create the wow experience. The second powerful piece of your world is that you're connected to your community, to the person in the store next to you, to your chamber, to your score office. You can work together to build your business, to learn, and to grow. The third is that you have a real ability to understand your market. Your market's in front of you every day. Again, you don't need research or focus groups. You have a new idea? Ask the next 3 customers that come through the door. See what they think. Right? Talk to people. Test. But you can test that in such a natural and easy way. And then the final real advantage you have is that you can see your entire customer experience. Right? You don't need a secret shopper or an undercover CEO to understand what's happening today in your business, what's delighting your customer, where are the challenges, where are the opportunities to create that great experience. And it's these real relationships that lead to easier marketing. And it really comes down to 2 powerful levers that I'm going to talk more about, and they're incredibly obvious, so I apologize for the obviousness in advance. But it's these real relationships that drive repeat sales. Right? If you create a great experience, they come back. Turns out if you remind them you're out there, they come back more often. We're going to get to that in a second. Right? And it's those real relationships that inspire people to share with their friends. Whether that's in person or now increasingly online or through review sites, great experiences, repeat customers drive that word of mouth reach to the next new customer. These 2 growth levers are important places to focus your marketing. It actually should be your first marketing priority. Let me actually break that down into some numbers. I'm going to use some rough numbers just to kind of bring the point home, and then I'm going to talk about the how. Don't worry, I'm going to get to the how. So if you sort of break your business down, and I talk to literally thousands of small businesses a year, the first breakdown I usually hear is kind of the 80% repeat sales, 20% new. Actually, that 80 goes anywhere from 80 to 95. So I'm going to go low and keep it round so I can do some math. So great, 80% repeat sales. 20% is that lifeblood of new customers that you absolutely have to keep your business going. So let's dive into that new business now and understand its sources. And interestingly enough, I usually get the same 80-20 thing happening. Right? Most of my new customers come from word of mouth referrals. It could be 80, could be 90. I'm looking for some nods around the room. Word of mouth referrals, your best source of new customers? Yep, I'm getting it. So then that remaining 20% is what's coming from what most people classify as their marketing efforts. Right? Marketing equals advertising for a new customer, right? Well, my point today is that marketing should be the whole circle. And in fact, when I talk about engagement marketing, it's actually about marketing to drive more of the 80% and the 16%. And when you do that, it makes your ad dollars go further and work better. So engagement marketing is marketing for that 96% of the box. Make sense? What continues to shock me is how many businesses obsess over the 4%, which is, by the way, the most expensive and the least trackable. So let's dive into what do I mean? How do I go after that 96%? It's another piece of good news. It's about talking to your customer. Now, increasingly, it's about talking to them through online tools like email and social. But it's actually something you should feel pretty confident about because you do it every day. But you can't talk to them if you're not connected to them. So here comes the first piece of work. It's not expensive work, but it's real work, which is you have to ask your customer to stay connected to you. So when you've created that great wow experience, would you like to join my mailing list? We do great industry updates. Follow me on Facebook, right? Fan me. Link into me. You have to ask. And you don't have to be everywhere, by the way. You just got to pick one or two channels. And I may sound a little biased, but I think email should always be one of them. You can ask me why later. But I think it has the most consistent reach, right? Most consistent ability to deliver a message. And while I see a lot of people are on their phones, I'm guessing they're doing social, I bet you've all checked your email this morning. Right? So email still works. The next thing I hear is, that's great, but I do not have time to be writing those things. Are you kidding me? Have you seen what's going on in my business? But it turns out as small businesses, you actually know what to say. It's about confidence to say it. And in today's mobile-enabled world, everything needs to be super short. So that's fantastic news. Right? Today, all you need is a picture, a paragraph, and a call to action. And once you get started, your business will inspire other ideas. You're talking to a customer, they ask a question. Oh, lots of customers have that question. I think I see a Q&A post. Right? You're business to business. There's a big industry trend going on. I think I have an idea for an article about how this will impact their business. Right? Oh, the holiday's coming up. I should send out 3 great gift ideas for Father's Day. Right? Your business has a natural flow of obvious things to say, and you don't need to be a copywriter. You need to know how to talk to your customers. A picture, a paragraph, and a call to action. And once you start, things will flow. It is natural to talk to your consumers. It's the same thing you're saying to them in your daily life. And then here's the other cool thing. With mobile tools, you can also do that on the fly. So gone are the days where you need to kind of go to the back office and sit down to do marketing, right? You can do marketing in a quiet moment while you're waiting for coffee, because your mobile device is now your mobile marketing platform. So real relationships, talking to your customer, what does that do? That really begins to drive your business. People start to see that and they start to follow a breadcrumb trail back to your business. So the next most important thing is that your business has got to be able to be found, right? I see my friend talking about your business. Now I want to learn more. The ways in which I might go to learn more are incredibly varied, right? We have had a explosion, search engines, directory sites, mobile discovery apps, right? The way we would look for a business, Google search, Bing search results are not enough. I need to be everywhere. And I need to be everywhere with all the information that matters. So you need to make sure your presence is up and it's mobile enabled and it looks great. But if you do those two simple things, you're found and your content really talks to the customer you know, great things can happen. You can create great customers. So the first part of the cycle is people find you and they come in, you make that connection and you talk to them. And this is the 80% cycle. It turns out repeat sales just happens, absolutely. It just happens more if you ask for it. If you remind people you're out there, this cycle alone will grow your business. And if you are not doing this today and you remember nothing from my talk except this, please start to create a customer contact database. Email or social, start to create a situation where, and the other thing I hear is, I don't have a list. Well, if you don't start now, you never will, right? You've got to get started. So if you're doing this in the audience already and you're feeling great, congratulations, right? You have the most inexpensive and powerful channel working for you. You're bringing repeat customers back. And the more you can bring them back and engage them on social, the more you create the second wing of this, which is social visibility. Because here's the final idea I want to talk about. Your customer's social network is your best next prospect. So advertising, right? The mantra is targeted, targeted, targeted. I want a targeted and relevant audience. There is nobody more targeted and relevant than your current customers, friends, family, and colleague. I'll dive into that in 1 minute. Let's just imagine for a moment you're an IT consulting firm. So you have a set of current clients. They're all on LinkedIn. Guess who their LinkedIn network is? People they used to work with. Guess who they used to work with? Other IT consultants, right? Other IT guys. That is about as targeted and relevant as you can possibly get. And maybe you serve suburban moms. What do you think the Facebook friend linkage of suburban moms look like? Other suburban moms in their neighborhood, right? They're geographically, economically, and lifestyle targeted. So while you can pay top ad dollars to get to a super targeted audience, it turns out your existing customers are holding on to a super targeted audience that you can actually unwrap. And so this combination of existing customers and social engagement, online engagement, drives new prospects into your business. And now we're driving that other 96%. And everything I talked about was relatively inexpensive compared to the online ad dollar that I know dozens of people are trying to get out of your wallet every day, right? Relatively, not free. Biggest thing it takes is a little bit of time and a little bit of commitment to make that ask to get a customer to connect to you. So you have the opportunity to stay in touch, bring them back, and inspire the second circle. And that's the simple idea of engagement marketing. And if you do that, marketing is easier for small businesses. And you confidently can do that because you know how to talk to your customer. You do it every day. So I hope this was helpful, and happy Small Business Week. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gail. That was terrific. Very informative and helpful. I'm sure many lessons learned that we can all apply. However, now we get the opportunity to take our first break. For those listening online and those in the room, we'll be returning in just over 10 minutes. So those here in Boston at the Microsoft Center, please enjoy the time where we have some opportunities for refreshments. Also, we have our vendors and our resource fair, as well as it looks like the weather is getting much nicer out. So please enjoy the 10 to 15 minutes and return here promptly. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to those online, as well as those here at the Microsoft Center. It's great to have everyone here with us in National Small Business Week, Boston.
Sorry.
It's hard to get people back into the room. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're networking with other small businesses and entrepreneurs. So there will be more time for networking once we have this wonderful panel that I'm about ready to announce, and then we'll have lunch as well as the breakout sessions in the afternoon. So at this point, it's my great pleasure to introduce our next series of speakers, which is going to be in a panel format, and that's going to be led by Allison Salzer. Allison is a Senior Business Development Manager for Strategic Influencers here at Microsoft. Allison leads Microsoft's entrepreneurship strategy in partnerships with national small business organizations like the SBA, the White House Business Council, Small Business Development Centers, the American Chamber of Commerce Executives, and the Entrepreneurs Organization. Allison leads a field team to drive the national entrepreneurship strategy here at Microsoft to the local level, focused on providing technology education for small businesses through chambers of commerces, economic development groups, and business associations. It's my great honor to introduce Allison Salzer.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to invite our panelists to come join me while I step up. This is going to be the coolest session. I'm so excited. I'm not only a small business specialist at Microsoft, which is what I do for a living, but I'm also a small business owner. And when I talked to my husband, Larry, we own a food manufacturing company in Denver, Colorado. And I'm always like, you're spending too much time in your business. We have to spend more time on our business. And then when I look at this amazing panel and these amazing companies that these folks have created, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're not only working on their business, they're reinventing the future. And so it is my distinct pleasure to host this panel this morning. I'd like to invite our panelists to actually introduce themselves. If you could, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what your company does. Carl, let's start with you.
Sure, thanks very much. So my name is Carl Dietrich. I'm the CEO, Chief Technical Officer, and co-founder of a company called Terrafugia. Terrafugia is the flying car company. We're an MIT spinoff founded in 2006. Three of us out of the Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics, so engineers, and then a couple folks from the Sloan School of Business got together. All of us were pilots, and we were very aware of what was going on in the general aviation industry at the time. And we saw that there were some rule changes happening that opened up a window of opportunity to do something fundamentally different in general aviation, a very well-established industry. So we said, well, what could we do as a small group of folks around MIT, kind of in a mover and shaker type environment, that has the potential to have a very significant impact on the evolution of general aviation? And we came back to the very old idea of the flying car. People think of the flying car as this futuristic concept. Well, these concepts have been around for actually over 100 years now. So it's not a new idea, but what we do have today is a new environment and new technologies to bring to bear on this very old problem. So we put together a business plan. We entered it into the MIT 100K business plan competition. And in 2006, we were the runners-up, as judged by a panel of 27 entrepreneurs and venture capitalists. And so to us, that seemed like, well, this is great. We got to take this to the next level and see if there's really a market for this thing. So we went to the biggest air show in all of general aviation, called AirVenture Oshkosh. And this is a show that attracts about 500,000 people every year to the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, where 10,000 airplanes all fly in, and you get the movers and shakers in the general aviation industry. We went to that show, and at that point, we had really nothing more than a wind tunnel model that was about this big, and some nice computer graphics of our vehicle. And we came away from that show with 7 checks in hand. People who are writing checks, $7,400 checks, just to hold a place in line to buy this vehicle that didn't exist yet and wasn't going to exist for many years. We also met some of the folks who would become our first external investors in the company. And as they say, the rest is kind of history. So we've been kind of building and testing flying vehicles. We've been flying and driving prototype flying cars since 2009 now. And we're about 2 years from bringing our first product to market. So it's a long haul to do what we're doing. But it's something that we see as having fantastic long-term potential. Today in the United States, there's $125 billion of time value lost every year to people stuck in traffic. We're saying it doesn't have to be like that. There actually is the possibility, there is a practical roadmap to bring that vision that we all have of a flying car. And there's some realistic constraints that we've got to put on the situation, make it safe, make it reasonable. But I'm getting cut off. So this is going to be a long panel.
No, just
Anyway, the bottom line is that's our company's mission, is to turn the flying car from a science fiction vision to a practical reality.
Great.
Amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. So I feel I think I'm going to be I think I'm not going to be the one who's going to be as exciting as the other guys. I'm the odd guy out. I work for the Small Business Administration, and I work for the Office of Investment and Innovation. We are the smaller shop. As you know, the SBA is famous, as our administrator had talked about our capital and counseling. But we also do innovation. There's an I in that capital seeking, and what we run is the Small Business Investment Research companies, which are grants actually to go out to small businesses such as yourself that look at new and innovative ways of doing research, and the Small Business Tech Transfer, which works with universities to do the exact same thing. We did announce on Monday, which I'm very excited, it's been a year-long to do it, is an accelerator competition, because we really believe that growth, when you listen to a lot of these entrepreneurs, is about sitting there and supporting ecosystems as opposed to the government creating a program. How do we support what's already out there? And that's what we do through this accelerator competition, is to get $50,000 grants. They don't sound a lot, but to actually help small accelerators, incubators, proof of concept centers, I don't know, flying car innovation hubs, to do them across the country. So it's not just Silicon Valley, and hopefully no one here is from California, and those of you who are watching, sorry. Because there's innovation that happens everywhere, and that's what our mission is. And then I also run the Small Business Investment Company, which is actually, it's going to sound weird, but the federal government is a fund to fund. So we fund funds that go around and sponsor and invest private equity and debt mezzanine finance into small businesses across the country. And we run a $3 billion fund. This year it's going to be $4 billion. So we have over $20 billion under management. So we actually go ahead and invest in investors who will invest into small businesses, because they probably want to go and do a $50, $60 million investment, and we try to encourage them to do $2, $3 million into small businesses that need maybe not a traditional loan, but needs venture capital or private equity. So we sit here to actually help a lot of innovation happen across the country, because as I like to say, that's what creates most of the jobs in the country, because innovation is where we disrupt almost everything and create new ways of having to go past forwards. So that's why these guys are exciting. I'm just the backbone to help them.
Hello, everybody. My name is Akhil, and by the way, nothing can be cooler than flying cars, so we are all in that channel, right? But I'm the founder and president of Mass Challenge. We are the world's largest startup competition and accelerator program. We started Mass Challenge because we fundamentally believe that entrepreneurs are the lifeblood of any economy, right? If you look at any value creators in society, whether it's value creation through new products and services, whether it's wealth creation, whether it's job creation, it all happens through entrepreneurs, right? Through new ideas that come to market, and we should be doing everything that we can to support these entrepreneurs. So what our mission is to find the very best entrepreneurs from around the world, and the way we do that is through a competition-based system. And then we find about 128 entrepreneurs from across the world and bring them here to Boston. And they are with us for about 4 months. And during those 4 months, we surround them with all the resources that they need to help accelerate the growth of their businesses to the next level, right? So these resources could be funders, sales, marketing, team members, looking at new markets, corporations, and the whole other set of resources. We have about 400 mentors into the program itself that work with these businesses itself. And then at the end of Mass Challenge, the 128 companies are also eligible to compete for $1 million in cash prizes. So every year we give out $1 million, and this is in 50K and 100K increments. And these are structured as grants to these entrepreneurs themselves. I can talk more about it, but if you want more information, it's masschallenge.org.
Thank you. Donna?
Good morning. I'm Donna Levan, and I'm from a company called Care.com.
How many of you either have children, parents, or pets?
You gotta,
All of them.
So we have a really big addressable market. So Care.com helps families connect with caregivers in their local area, and caregivers, either individuals or companies that are looking to connect with these families, come and match through our service. Care.com was started by four of us who considered ourselves social entrepreneurs. We're all working for another company that we helped start that helped families save money for college through their everyday spend. And we're very targeted on being not just for-profit. While we were there, we all had our own caregiving journey. For me, I had my first child, who was my 5-year project. When I was due to go back to work, at 11 weeks, he had a seizure-like episode. All caregiving plans that I had made went right out the window. Fast forward, as we were thinking about what to do next, it's like, so college was a struggle. We started, you promised to help families. Care was a struggle. We took a look at the marketplace and realized that it was highly fragmented, that there were a lot of niche services being provided out there, and that the person who was making the caregiving decision tended to be the mom, the daughter, that female had a household. And what a great opportunity it would be to create a service where they could find trustworthy care providers to suit their needs. So today we have over 10 million members. We're in 16 countries. We had the opportunity to have our initial public offering earlier this year. And we just have a lot more work to do. Hoping to have a chance as we sort of go through the panel to talk a little more about the journey, and particularly what we heard earlier on entering into something where failure is just not an option, but recognizing that it is okay to fail, and you will fail, but there's going to be learning from part of that journey. So, thank you.
Good morning, Brendan English, RailPod. We build robots that go out and inspect railroad tracks. So you probably heard a lot of things out there in the news, oil cars and things along those lines, crashing, derailments, bottlenecks on the MTA from here to New York. We're going out there, drastically reducing the cost of the day-to-day inspection technologies for the railroad tracks, ultimately trying to prevent those derailments from occurring 4 a day, every day in the United States. We're trying to get that number down to a lot smaller, something less than 1. And that's what we're doing. I've got a background in aviation. I actually came across railroad industry when I was flying jets in the Air Force. And there's 2 things you see in Oklahoma at 10,000 feet. Anybody guess what they are? I'll give you the first one, railroad tracks, and the other one is grain mills. And I just started looking into the railroad industry as a whole and trying to get smart on it, and started studying it while I was learning how to fly jets and fly helicopters. And here I am today. Just sort of one thing led to another, and we got a chance to participate in Mass Challenge, and we were one of the 100K winners last year. And what a great program! Can't say enough about it.
Awesome, thank you. So I got to connect with some of the panelists before coming here today, and a lot of the conversation talked about leadership and how from the top you can really drive innovation and the concept of innovation and that risk-taking that Donna was referring to. Question for you, Carl. Thank you. As a leader, how do you encourage innovation? I mean, you're working on some cutting-edge stuff. There's got to be a lot of fears involved. And people are like, yeah, it'll work, but there's lots of potential downsides. How do you encourage a culture of innovation?
So it's interesting, we talk about teaching a culture of innovation, and our company happens to be in 2 of the most highly regulated industries in the world. So innovation happens in those industries inside a set of constraints that are pre-established and that we already know about. So one of the things that we try to do is make sure that as young engineers come into our company, that we get them up to speed with the rules of the road, as it were, the rules of the sky, and make sure that they understand the world in which we're working and in the areas where we have the opportunity to change some of those rules. Because one of the things that we get asked a lot about is, well, this is great. This looks really innovative. It looks like, flying cars. Yeah, sure. But how the heck are you going to do this? How are you going to keep them from crashing into? How's the FAA ever going to let this sort of thing happen? And to be able to come back and say, well, here we have an actual plan for how this could happen and how we can affect this sort of change. That's absolutely critical. So to get back to your question, how do we encourage that sense or that ability of our guys to innovate effectively? We've got to let them know how to be effective. And we've got to let them know, and in our industry, that means they've got to know the rules of the road and know the guidelines and know where we can make change and where it's not likely that we're going to make a lot of change. So that's the short answer.
Great. Brendan, what about your thoughts on leadership and how you create that culture of innovation at RailPod?
Yeah, I was talking to some of the guys the other night at one of our tech meetings, and they all sort of laughed at the end of this. So in the military, you're graded on all sorts of different things. And I took this from the military card, but there's two big core functions in military aviation. It's knowledge, right, learning everything in the textbooks. Rote memorization, just know everything, every number, everything. And then the other one is obviously the operational. Can you physically fly? Can you actually move the airplane? And so I've implemented a program within our startup, which is knowledge on everything associated with track inspection. So I challenge everybody, sales, tech, marketing, everybody knows every number in the CFRs, the Code of Federal Regulations associated with track inspection. And what that does is exactly what Carl talks about, is it places focus, it gives a direction. Because you can innovate and you can think about a million things, and who doesn't in the office space sit there and say, hey, why don't I have a lapel pin that does a microphone? We were talking about that earlier. So there's all these different things, but you have to keep the team focused and addressing the specific areas that you're trying to innovate in. And so that's really actually promoted a lot of competition internally, and education, I think, is a big part of it.
Donna, what do you focus on at care.com? We talked a lot about your team and how you help your team. Can you speak a little bit about how you create a culture of innovation?
Absolutely. So specifically for me, I'm in charge of operations at care.com. And as a result,
there we go.
I get to wear a lot of different hats. So my team is actually responsible for the product that we deliver, or the quality of that product, and has some of the only touch points with our members and for our safety program. I also get an opportunity to incubate a lot of our new business ideas. You would think that care is fairly straightforward, but as you think of all the different services that someone may need for their loved ones, there's actually a lot to do. As far as innovation, we're also in a world where there's not a lot of room for mistakes when you're dealing with someone's child or parent, or even for their pet. So there are some things that we definitely have to focus on, but we create an environment where it's very clear on what are the core things you need to focus on. And for, say, that other 20%, we challenge people to be disruptive. That we have sessions where everyone in the company can participate on a problem that we are trying to solve, and recognize that a good idea can come from anywhere. Some of the best ideas have come because people are willing to admit that they do sort of this quirky thing on the side, and it's helped us figure out a creative way to address a pain point. We also allow different departments to actually take a few days and go innovate. That if you have an idea for a new product, a new widget, even a new space you want to configure in the organization, go do it, come back, present it to the company, and we'll go through that list. And usually, we pick 2 or 3 things that then make it into the pipeline that we're going to move forward with.
Awesome. Akel, in your world, you see so many different businesses doing so many amazing things. And I'm curious, with all that upside, what do you see as the biggest barriers to innovation? What do you kind of wish was there to remove some of those barriers?
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is what we are trying to do with Mass Challenge, right? Is everybody has ideas, right? But the question is, there's a big gap between ideas and turning it into a sustainable business or even a nonprofit organization and things like that, right? And the question is, how do you bridge that gap? Because that's not an easy journey, right? Within that. So going from like ideation phase all the way to actually building an organization itself, right? So I think what we are trying to do with Mass Challenge is, one is create a plug-and-play organization, right? So right now, for university students or other places, it's so easy to go and get a job. You go to a job fair, right? Or if you have, if you want to go look for another job at another company, you go to their website or like monster.com or things like that. But these are like plug-and-play places, right? And similarly, there should be plug-and-play places for entrepreneurs with their ideas, right? And kind of like a low-risk environment, which is like it might work out or it might not work out, but at least I'll give it a shot, right? And I'll get the resources that you need from there. So one is that plug-and-play environment. The second thing is connecting them with the right resources. So every entrepreneur thinks that they need capital as the number one thing to get their idea started. But most importantly, I think a lot of people need mentorship, all right? People who have been there before, who can take an idea, right? Force these entrepreneurs to go test their ideas in the marketplace, right? Not just on a sketch pad or things like that, but these mentors who will push these entrepreneurs to really answer some hard questions, right? And push them to go test out their ideas in the marketplace with the customers and things like that. So connecting those entrepreneurs with those mentors who can take those ideas to the next level, right? And that's what we are trying to do with Mass Challenge. And some of these ideas will work out, some of these ideas won't work out, right? But having that kind of environment where you can at least test your ideas in a less risky situation is what is needed in the innovation space.
Pravina, what kind of resources are available that people might not know about?
Well, I think one of the things is the SBA, I think the administrator said it great, was that people don't realize that we're not just capital, but we do a lot of resources. I mean, there are free classes on everything from how to do a business plan, social media, and these are paid professional counselors and people who've given, who know about the businesses that you're in that are actually there. And one of the things, I know a lot of high growth or tech companies sit there and say, oh, well, the SBA, you're the guys who do the dry cleaners. We do dry cleaners. I'm very happy to have quite a few of them to use. But we also do things like 3D printing was started off by an NSF grant. So the entire industry of 3D printing all of a sudden is a grant that was given by the government. And so I would encourage people to look at SBA.gov, but look at SBIR opportunities, because I think one of the things that innovators feel is there's no way to fail. Because if you go out to get capital and you fail, all of a sudden your record is gone. But if we're giving you grants, which you don't have to pay back, you can fail. And in fact, like one of the biggest grant organizations is NIH, and I think it's amazing. They pay people to figure out, how to cure cancer. Well, of course, not every one of those grants is going to cure cancer, but it's an ability to fail. So I think those are the types of things that people should be looking at the government for, because we are there. We want to encourage that failure because there are quite a lot of successes out of that as well.
I'm curious in the audience, we've heard a lot about mentorship, and I hear people talk about mentorship, but I'm curious, how many of you have a business mentor, at least one? Can you raise your hands? That's what, 10, not even 10%? And I mean, firsthand, I remember, I work in small business, I work with the SBA, we're small business owners, and I turned to my husband, Larry, and I said, okay, I support SCORE. Let's see if this works. I hear you can get a mentor. It was 6 a.m., my kids weren't up yet. He logs on to SCORE and said, we want a mentor, I'm in Denver, Colorado, in food manufacturing. And I'm like, let's see, right? I'm supporting him, let's see if it works. 11 o'clock, same day, he gets a call. Hi, I'm from SCORE. I have a tortilla manufacturing company. I've been in the food manufacturing business for 30 years. How can I help you? True story. So for those of you that didn't raise your hand, you can go right after this to score.org and enter exactly what you're looking for and see what might happen. So sorry, I know I'm not necessarily a panelist, but I just wanted to share that. And I think it's amazing that so few people don't have a mentor, because it's the number one thing people talk about.
It's a big one. And I think Akil hit the nail on the head with respects to what Mass Challenge provides. I mean, it provides so much, but our eyes opened up when we actually started talking with people who have been there, done that before. And it's not even necessarily people in the railroad space, but it was people in the business space. And sure, we need the technology, but you really need a method or a metric, a process to bring that technology to the market. And that's where it comes back to having an advisor that's launched some other product, it doesn't matter what, successfully, whether it's a global play or a national play. it really opened up our eyes. And I think it really made the difference for us and how we competed in Mass Challenge and where we are today.
Can I also add? We have a board. I know initially our board was made up of most of the VCs who invested in our idea. But before that, we had, and still do, probably no less than 50 advisors. Advisors who maybe they know some type of caregiving or marketing or fundraising or potential partnerships. Personally, I have a ton of people that I call a mentor that I can reach out to have a conversation about a specific challenge that I'm taking and recognize that not one mentor or advisor can solve for everything, which is why it's great to cast a very wide net, and they don't have to have the title of a mentor. It could just be someone that you've met. So for example, Gail was out here. For those of you who got her hashtag, if you're having a question about email marketing or using their product or something, to tweet at her or have a cup of coffee and just have the conversation, and she may be able to connect you with someone else in her network.
Could I just follow up on that point, as long as we're keeping going here a little free form? The mentorship was the differentiator for TerraFugia. We were coming out of MIT. That was a differentiator in and of itself, but there are lots of guys who have ideas for flying cars. Why would our company be the one that attracts the capital and attracts the customers? And the answer really was that we were able to put together an outstanding board of advisors and a board of directors that really lended a lot of credibility to our organization from a very early stage, before we really had any money at all. That ability to attract the advisorship, which again, I think you're right to point this out and hammer on it. It is the biggest differentiator for attracting new investment, for anything, is who's on your board? Who's on your board of directors? Who's on your board of advisors? Why should we trust you guys as unproven entrepreneurs?
And there's just advisors, so if you don't want to listen to them, go to the next one. Get another one.
So I'm curious, I'll throw that out to the audience again. How many of you have a board or a board of advisors?
On the back.
Yeah, look around. Yeah, we've got about 5 people that raise their hand. My husband doesn't. We don't have one, right? It's amazing to hear that these were the differentiators and how few people reached out. So I'm curious, how did you reach out? Like, what gave you the credibility to try and say, like, wow, can you help me? Can you advise me? Can you be on my board? Like, I think a lot of small business owners are like, boards? I could have a board.
I'm going to say something that Gail said in her call for action. There's a resource table right out there after we finish here that I would encourage all of you who did not raise your hand, that SBA's got tons of advisors and counselors who would love to sit there and be your kitchen cabinet. And something I would say is, because I've done it when I was the district director in New York, is we want to see you succeed. So we will be with you for the whole journey. And we cost a whole whopping $0, which is, and in today's economy, very, very interesting, because we can connect you. And our connection is several million strong. When you do 1 million clients, you can think about that. So I'm going to use Gail's marketing technique. These guys were already my pitch. So I would advise you to go and get in there and really try, because I think I agree with you. Running businesses, you need people in your corner all the time, because one of the things from working with a lot of entrepreneurs we realize is you are going to be an island, and you're going to feel like you're an island, and everything there's going to be days where you just can't get things done. And it's nice to know that you can pick up a phone and someone's going to go, okay, let me just, without asking for a cut, or I need a percentage, or I need to negotiate a contract, let me give you some advice. Have you thought about this? And like everybody said, if you don't like it, that's fine. They're just there to help you. That was my call to action. I'm going to give Gail credit for that.
Kel, what do you guys counsel business owners about in terms of the resources that are there to help, mentorship? I would imagine you see a lot of people trying to go it alone. How do you convince them that can be the linchpin to success and failure?
So I think we have 400 mentors in the program itself, right? That work with these companies, right? And I think one of the things with board of advisors, first of all, everybody should realize that there's a total difference between board of advisors and board of directors. So just be careful who you get on the board of directors, because that's a legal fiduciary responsibility. But board of advisors has no responsibility, right? They're just as a sounding board, right? So before building a board of directors, build a board of advisors first. And once you trust them, move them over to the board of directors first of all, right? But regardless of that, right, I think just regarding mentorship, right? I think different companies are at different stages, and as the stage of the company matures, you need different kind of advisors, right? So recognizing where your company is at and what kind of advisors do you need at right now, right? So there's a stage where you're trying to figure out your product, you're trying to figure out whether there's customers, you're trying to figure out whether somebody will actually buy the product and pay you money for that, right? If you're in that stage, make sure that you have a board of advisors or mentors that understands that stage, right? And what is necessary for that stage. One day, if you're successful, you'll have a different set of problems, right? Which is you have found your customer, but now you have scaling problems, right? As like, how do you scale from 10 customers to 100 customers? And there are people who are very good at that stage of the company. So make sure you have board of advisors matching that, right? So one of the things that we say is recognize where you are at, right? And what kind of help do you need at that stage of the company, right? And then figuring out the mentors who are good at that stage, within that stage of the company, and matching your demands with the resources that they can provide, and also having a candid conversation with your mentors. This is what I'm looking for, right? And do you think you can help me with that? So I think that is a really fundamental thing. The second thing is a lot of entrepreneurs just think about capital, right? Obviously, money is the lifeblood. I cannot say enough good things about the SBIR program, right? I would encourage everybody to look at the SBIR program, because I think the biggest problem is 95% of the people or more just disqualify themselves even before looking into the program and saying, I might not be eligible, because either they want dry cleaners or like the MIT neuroscientists or something like that. But they fund everything in between, right? And it's a great source of money within that, right? But also when you're out looking for money, right, I think also matching the kind of business that you want to build with the sources of financing that are available for that money. Because raising money for your business is a really long cycle. It's a very tortuous cycle, right? And there's nothing more discouraging than going 6 months and knocking on doors that are never going to give you money anyway, because you're not that kind of a business, right? Is very important. So just be cognizant of what kind of business you're trying to build, what are the right sources of capital for that, as well as what stage your business is in, and matching mentors that can help you at that particular stage of business.
Great. Donna, it was interesting. I was in Kansas City earlier for National Small Business Week and traveling here, and I was watching television in the hotel, and I saw an advertisement for Care.com, and I was like, oh my God, I'm talking to Donna on Thursday. So, I mean, I've got to ask you, Donna, like, every small business owner wants to be successful, but being too successful too quickly, which I hope the ads do for you, can also be a risk. How do you think about like managing growth and managing success and managing some of those risks?
It's an ongoing conversation. Tying back to the conversation that we were just having, or your comments about picking your advisors at different points in times, I think it's also having a very honest conversation with yourself about the vision you have for your business and how big you want it to be and just how fast. So at Care.com, we do take a look at sort of at our growth rate and how big we want it to be and how fast are we growing, and in areas where we do want to grow fast. So there are some parts of our business where, you know what, the sky is the limit. It is growing fast. We are not going to stop it. It's, pedal to the metal. Because the way that it's growing in a very effective manner. The product is good. It's cost effective. Our margins look great. There are other parts of the business where there are things that are sort of still in test mode, where we need to understand it better before we try and grow it faster. We have a concept, and I think a lot of organizations may have this, of a sort of a Horizon 1 opportunity, a Horizon 2 opportunity, or Horizon 3 opportunity. So the difference of those Horizon 1 opportunities, the sky is the limit. We understand our numbers, the product is sound, it's very predictable. Horizon 2, it's where you've gotten some traction with it. You have something that's solid, and now it's ready to scale. The stuff that's in Horizon 3, we're still piecing through it. We're still figuring it out. This is where all those great ideas from the innovation go. And we actually take a look at this on our offsites as a management team on, hey, look at the data coming out of this thing that we had in Horizon 3. Is it ready to allocate more resources and push it to a Horizon 2? So we're very thoughtful because at any given time, we are testing thousands of things. So where do you really want to invest your resources? And it's great when we're talking about it's not just sort of your capital, but it's your mind share, it's your people, because it does take a lot to go from this idea to actually bringing it to life. You know, we talk a lot internally because particularly folks are saying, maybe just coming out of business school, everybody wants to be a strategist. I want to work on strategy. Everybody has a great idea. Everyone can come up with a strategy, but it's so hard to execute. And it does take more than just the capital. So we are very thoughtful on how we grow and just how fast.
Brendan, what about you? How do you guys think through growth and managing growth?
Yeah, we're still relatively early on in the development phase, but we've definitely got a global play here with our product, and it's really a lot of what we are doing right now is listening to the customer. It's how we got our roots. We were actually doing something completely different. Started talking to the customer, and they said, "No way in hell, Brendan." But we got this other problem. It's called track inspection. And so we said, sure, we'll start taking a look at it. And that's really grown. It's actually evolved some of the technology that we want to develop and bring to the market, and being a little bit cognizant of how we operate here in the U.S. versus some of these other countries and what their requirements are or lack of requirements and what they're focused on. So listening to that customer is really helping us assign the growth and develop the technology to grow.
In just a minute, I'm going to open up to the audience for questions as well. So think if you have any questions specifically for our panelists. But before we do that, Carl, I was curious if you could think through that. You've got 2 years out. You're in prototype mode. Do you even think that far out? What's that like for you guys?
You have to think. You have to think out ahead to where the business is going, because one of the things that we think is sort of unique about our company is that we have a very near-term focus, a path to bring a product to market as quickly as possible in aviation, which is not that quick compared to other industries, but it's as quickly as possible. We also have a vision for the future that involves more fundamental change to some of the existing regulatory infrastructure that we have in place today. And we think we've been investing some fraction of our management team's time actually in working with international regulators to form a new set of international standards for how aircraft, small aircraft, will be certified all around the world. This is a long-term investment. This is not something that's going to happen in the next 3-4 years. We're talking about a decade. For a company that's our size to be thinking a decade out, but we have to, because we want to affect a change that in reality is going to happen over the course of a generation. So you don't affect that sort of change if you're just thinking about the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, change is huge, right? Donna and I were talking about, like, a babysitter, for example. I'm a mother. I have 2 young boys, and how I would get a babysitter is word of mouth. And Donna's group is saying, no, you can go on a website and there are reviews, and you can have someone watch your children. Like, that's a huge culture shift for me. And if my mom got sick and I had to rely on a website, like, that's a big thing. Donna, how do you think about changing the culture of purchasing decisions that are as important as that?
It's great. So during our conversation, one of the things that I shared, as passionate as I was about the idea, one of the reasons I almost said no was for that very reason. What I didn't share with that story with my son was that my husband, who's a therapist, actually changed his schedule and he stayed home during the day for the next 3 years while we work through the health issues with our child. Fast forward now to this notion of Care.com and this mind shift. There were a few things that were happening in the world, though, by the time we started. One was the rise of online dating and going to events where you would meet people and they would say, you know, it was sort of a whisper of, actually, I met my spouse online. That they made a decision and they vetted their life partner who they were going to start this foundation with online. So by the time we put together Care.com, it was more about what can we do behind the scenes to protect our community, and what resources and tools can we provide our members to make a smart decision, because the world was already moving in the direction where you were connecting with people on the other side of the planet, you know, that you hadn't met in years through things like, you know, a Facebook, reaching out to celebrities through all different types of platforms and developing those relationships, that when you talk to someone about this notion of, yes, you actually can find a sitter in your neighborhood online. Why? It's because a lot of people don't know their neighbors anymore. A lot of those students, or the girl, you know, next door has moved away, gone to college, and she's not coming back. But 4 blocks over, there's somebody else. So that's sort of been the culture shift and the change for Care.com.
I totally love that you made the online dating story the kind of because I met my husband on Yahoo 12 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, before online dating you could even say it. So
I was just at like this economic forum. I was sitting at a table, and people started talking, and they're like, I would say 70% of that table. They were like, yeah, I met. Oh, and they're like, what service did you use? And it was a very different conversation. It was a very different conversation.
That's great. So with that, I'd like to open it up to the audience. Does anybody have a question for one of our panelists? We've got some mics up here, and if you want, just raise your hand. We've got someone right here in front. Hang on one second. Let's get a mic so that everybody can hear you.
I was going to add more to what Donna said about Care.com, how it's more safer. I think when you get word of mouth, you don't know their criminal record. When you go on Care.com, you can have a different layer of security can be checked, and then you can see that, and that would give you another security, and you know the criminal record of the person. So from that point of view, Care.com is a little bit more secure than I would say from getting a word of mouth.
I just have to thank you. We can that. I'd love to take you after.
Good to pay you. That's awesome.
Personally, I do take that stance.
Yeah, can we document that quote and we can have it up on Care.com? That's great. And we have another question. There's a question right over there. Well, we've got lots of questions. We have someone with a mic right here. So
yes,
let's
this is for the panel. I have had a board of advisors for the last maybe 5-7 years. How do you transition from board of advisors to board of directors? Because now I'm a full-fledged organization. How easy is it to recruit board of directors?
I'll take a shot at it. So start with the board of advisors. I think the board of directors sort of comes naturally. I think enough time spent with the advisors, you can, assuming that you have more than one, you can very quickly say, wow, that's the kind of guy that I want to work with for the long run that can make important decisions. There's a favorite tattoo that I have, that I don't have, a colleague of mine has. And it's a little bit of the leadership. Military tattoos, it's pretty big, right? So culture, right? Culture of tattoos, right? And he has on his forearm, he has something that says, own it. And I never really understood what it meant until I deployed with him to Afghanistan a couple times and realized what he meant by that and what he lived by. And every morning he woke up and he looked at that thing and he owned it. And what you're looking for in that board of director is the guy that wants to own it. He wants to sit there right with you and own that company and cherish it just as much as you do. And that, I think, is where you really find that you need it. Obviously, there's reasons why you say we need a board of directors. We need someone who's an independent advisor. You need somebody that's going to go out and raise some money with you if you're raising money, or someone who is an investor needs to be on it. But you're looking for that group of guys or gals that really understand it and have been there and done that before.
in response to that question. And we talked about, the importance of the team of advisors and how they could serve as mentors. I would look towards that team of mentors and realize who's transitioned from a mentor to a sponsor. And a sponsor in the sense that they think about you and your business when you're not contacting them, when you're not present, that they are sold into your vision, your mission, what you're trying to accomplish, and they also have a skill set that's going to balance what you need at that time. Because people can be your sponsors and passionate about it, but maybe you really need someone who can help you with funding or someone who can help you with partnerships at the time. But I would be very strategic about how you build that. And if they really are passionate, they'll be honored to join your board.
The other key point that I would just add to that is a lot of board dynamics. You really do have to have a strong interpersonal relationship with the people on your board of directors because you're making a lot of very important decisions, all of the most important decisions for your company. And those decisions can often be, stir up a lot of emotion at times. And it's really important to have a strong relationship with the people that that you respect them not only on a business level but on a personal level. You're going to value their opinion even if they disagree with you. You respect it, and you're glad that even when they disagree with you, that they're on your board and representing that voice that they believe is best for the company.
And what I would also add is that some people would, some people, if they invest in your company, would require a board seat. So the thing is, investors have to have a board seat. But the thing is, one thing, we have talked a lot about the mentorship aspect of the board of directors, but there's a control aspect of it as well. So never forget the control aspect of the board of directors, because the board of directors is controlling the company, right? And according to the bylaws and stuff like that, it's a question of how do things get passed, right? During disagreements. If everybody agrees, that's fine, right? But during disagreements, is it a majority vote? Is it a 2/3 vote? All of these things, right? So board of directors is including, everybody realizes also sometimes have the power to fire the CEO, right? Which might be you, right? So never forget the control aspect of the board of directors in addition to the mentorship aspect within that, because it is a legal thing.
Dave, I think we have another question over here.
Yes. What would you suggest are the most important things to sustain an already established business? Is that also the board of advisors / directors? Is it updating the website? Do you have any thoughts on that matter?
Were you guys able to hear the question?
Yep.
I would say customers.
Yeah.
Sales.
Right.
Sales.
Keep your customers happy, right? And the business will grow. If you have no customers, none of the board of advisors or directors actually matter within that.
Yeah, and treat your workers. It's all about the team. It's all about the team. It's all about the team. Keep them happy and push them hard and reward them well.
And if your goal is to really grow the company, you want to be very clear on what your mission is, what your vision is for your company, what you value also, mission, vision, values, the standard 3, but having that be transparent to everybody in your organization really is absolutely critical. It's what you're going to base your hiring and firing decisions on, which are always controversial, but getting that out there so it's very clear, and it's very clear how you're running the company.
I would add just to that, I agree that you really have to listen to your customers and keep delivering for them and holding together the team, but also challenge of figuring out how to disrupt yourself. Because the product that maybe you provided or created 5 years ago may not be the product that people are going to want, 2 years in the future, and to really start trying to think through what shape and does that need to take so that you're ready for that change.
Unless it's a flying car.
Flying car.
I'll wait 5 years.
You'll wait 5.
And I would just add, as you're thinking of growing, I would actually really also think of what your capital needs. As much as we talk about mentorship, when you look for a growth trajectory and you're sitting there thinking 5 years out, you need to start building now for when you're going to need that cash and how you're going to get that kind of investment in there. So keeping the eye, I think, on almost everything pretty much we've said.
Other questions? I think we have. Yes. Can you stand up and speak loud if you can?
Oh.
Hi, my name is Guy Marcus,
My question is for one of them. I'm very curious because I manage programs, so I always like to have good information. This has been spectacular. For Pavrina, I've never heard of your program, and I am. You're hiding things from me, Bob. But I'd like to understand a little bit more of how you go about applying for these grants. What are the requirements? What are the twists and turns?
So for the SBIR and STTR program, there are 11 federal agencies that have solicitations that come out through all the year. If you go to sbir.gov, we keep them all in one place. And the grants can be from anything. We've got like the U.S. Department of Agriculture pretty much has an open solicitation. If you can come up with some type of technology that will help rural America, or not technology or process or whatever, they'll look at it. The grants start at $100,000, can go up to $150,000 for phase one. And then if you complete your phase two, a lot of them go to the second phase, which is about $2.25 million. So you're looking at almost getting $3.25 million from the federal government to support research. And your
it's a
research,
grant,
it's a
right?
grant.
It's a
It's a grant.
grant.
You don't have to
It's
pay
not
it
a loan.
back. There is reporting requirements, and if your company becomes successful, obviously you need to report back on that because we're looking to see how many are successful or not. And as I said, things like 3D printing. I love iRobot. They're here in Boston. They started out with DoD SBIR money. So there are a lot of out of the top 100 R&D technologies, 25 of them have been granted by SBIR, SDTR. Then we launched this week a new program for accelerators, which is it is not a grant, it is not a loan, it is a prize competition. So you win a prize of $50,000, and it's really to support the capacity building of accelerators across the country, because what they do is help entrepreneurs accelerate, and we're looking at different areas. So again, advanced manufacturing, there's an accelerator out there to help them. How do we help them get more companies involved?
Thank you.
And Bob wasn't hiding that last one because it just launched on Monday.
Anna, first of all, where were you 20 years ago when I needed a babysitter? But anyway, how do you handle liability? Because, I deal with a lot of vendors and there are different degrees of liability. Obviously, you are in a very delicate industry, I should say.
So on the liability, we definitely have great liability insurance. The other thing that we focus on is making it very clear on who is actually the employer in making the hiring decision. So as much as we leverage technology behind the scene to protect the community and provide additional tools such as 3 different background checks and social media checks and identity verification and all of this detail, we make it very clear to the person who's making the hiring decision when they are in fact the employer. We make it clear on here's what you need to do, some resources on how you interview, how you check references, how do you do sort of ongoing monitoring of a situation. And then depending on how long you're going to be employing that caregiver, either for your child or for your parent, that you are actually an employer and you have some obligations related to taxes, but then providing you tools to help you facilitate that, to either pay your employer, to get your taxes filed properly, and to be compliant. But we spend a lot of time thinking on that.
Thank you. I think we have a question back there. And sorry for cutting you off earlier.
Don't worry about it. Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here. My name's Chris Suter. I do economic development for a small city up in New Hampshire. And I work with a lot of businesses every day. And I think they would all love to have an advisory board. And they don't, most of them, because I think the question is, how do I find them? How do I ask them to be on an advisory board? And what should I expect of them? And maybe you could add some information about that, especially especially expectations of an advisory board.
All right, I'll jump in. So in terms of how do you find them, well, the SBA evidently had some resources I wasn't aware of, but the way we found ours was actually through MIT has a fantastic network. I imagine most other schools, especially with business schools, have great networks. Tap into those networks. At MIT here, we have the Entrepreneurship Center. We have an alumni organization called the MIT Venture Mentoring Service that just basically puts together alumni who just want to donate some time to help young entrepreneurs coming out of the Institute start and grow their businesses. I think that's a fantastic organization. There are lots of those sorts of organizations in areas that are trying to promote entrepreneurship. Reaching out to other companies actually in your industry, or people who have retired from other companies in the industry, as to how you ask, there's no magic to that. You're asking for advice. Most people, when they're asked for advice, are flattered to be asked for advice, and so it's actually not that hard usually to get some sort of response. And then as far as what to expect of the people on your board of advisors, it really depends, and it's very important that you make that clear up front with them. At the very beginning, we wanted advisors who would review our business plan and give us feedback on our business plan and help advise us on, okay, we have very limited resources. What do you think would be the value to our company of going to this show? Or should we just skip that? People who have gone to these shows lots of times and know the industry, they can tell you very quickly if it's worthwhile or it's not worthwhile for you at your stage. That sort of advice, it's really not a huge time commitment that I've found, from our board of advisors, but having a wide range of people with differing backgrounds that I could call up and just say, hey, I'm having this issue. It takes them 5 minutes to give me something that actually has a lot of value for my business. And what I usually say to our advisors is, we have no formal advisory board meetings or anything like that. The thing that I like is if I can give you a call and you've taken on kind of an implicit obligation to answer my question. But that's pretty much it. That's really, we don't look for anything more substantial than that in terms of written agreements or anything of that nature, because it's just advice, but it's so valuable.
Well, and I just urge everybody to consider, and it doesn't have to be that formal. It's, these companies are established, they're successful. I think they're talking about boards of advisors. I saw people saying, hey, I don't even have a mentor. This is really way out there for me. I would like to say, I think it's just an attitude of being able to ask for help. Yeah. And being okay with asking for help and saying, I'm struggling with this. How can you help me think it through? I think that's a great place to just start, and then you might be very surprised at what manifests from just that openness to help.
And the only thing I would say is sometimes people think, oh, my board of advisors need to be close. You could have a board of advisor, you could have a mentor from India. It doesn't necessarily need to be someone from New Hampshire. It can be almost anywhere, and I think it's who they feel comfortable enough to pick up a phone or Skype or what does Microsoft have now? Skype, right. I just want to make sure.
And Office 365, too.
Just to use that, because I think sometimes people don't think, there are people across the world who would be willing to do some innovation. There's a question over there. I think it's on the stage of where you are. Yeah, I would say, because I think is when you're starting out, you have different needs. It's something that Nikhil said, right? That you move as your industry. So as you get more formal, I know I've been asked to be on board of advisors. There's a certain point where people are like, yeah, we need somebody to look at quarterly for things for us, or monthly, or what. But I think it's as your business grows, you'll figure it out. Because you'll need more people to start inputting.
It also has a lot of value to formalize your board of advisors if you're out there looking for money. And they're okay with you listing their profile and, yeah, I'm advising that company, that sort of thing.
I would also add that LinkedIn is a great tool, all right? So use LinkedIn for just getting an introduction to people that you don't even know, all right? And say, I just need half an hour of your time on some advice. You can just search on your industry, locations, things like that. Hey, I really respect you. You built a business in the same industry that I'm trying to do, or something along that lines, and use LinkedIn as well as other social media tools to reach out to people that you don't know.
Just the last thing on advisor boards. At Care.com, our advisory board is somewhat formal, where there are certain commitments that we expect of our advisors, but I'm also advisor to a number of different organizations, and sometimes it is formal, and it's really about the needs of the organization. Some are very clear that as an advisor, we need you to do these 4 things each year at a minimum. In others, it's just, I want to know that I can have up to so many hours of your time on a given month or a given quarter.
We have our final question here. We have time for one more question.
Thank you. What resources are available to help business people gather competitive intelligence. I have a business idea, and I've just recently found out that somebody has a comparable business, and I was blindsided by that, although I believe that they're serving a different market. But what's the best way to kind of ferret those things out in advance? And when you do come across them, how do you find out how broad they are and how deep they are?
So I would suggest, I know that the SBDCs have a library network, so I know there's an SBDC person, that's why I'm looking this way. They actually have a library and they can put together some of that research for you. And again, the price tag is a whopping $0. So I would say, the SBA, we have a lot of our resource partners have that ability, and then you could connect with them and they could start actually working with you to see how far in depth. And then the government, we actually, if you're looking at patents and stuff, the U.S. Patent and Trade Organization has quite a lot of information on who's doing what in copyright and laws, especially if you're looking at technology and who's going where with that as well.
I would strongly encourage you to also, this is Massachusetts. We have some of the finest academic institutions in the world here. And a lot of those students are looking for things to do in between sessions. I know at one point we had a team that was like beating down our door from Sloan. I'm like, hey, we really want to do a project. And we have 6 weeks. What can we do for you? It's a common occurrence with a lot of different businesses where students just want an opportunity. They're fantastic researchers. Most will, if it's during a session, they'll do it for credit or small dollars, in some cases for free.
So we've talked a lot about advisors today, and I guess what I would love to hear as a closing part from our panelists is, given all of the advisors and interactions you've had, other than having an advisor, what's the best piece of business advice that you've received? Brendan, I'd like to start with you.
Fail early.
Could you say that again?
Fail early. Yeah, don't be afraid to fail. In the United States, I think we protect ourselves too much. Just fail. Just try it and move on. Get over it.
Yep.
Just get over that you failed. Learn what you learn and keep going. Go to the next thing.
Yep. For me, speed wins. I think often we wait until something is at the point of perfection before we're ready to unveil it to the world. And at that point, there are 5 or 6 things out there that are ahead of you, and now you have to fight for your place in the market. That sometimes it's okay to do the small tests. That's, it's a very simple test. Just go get the data. So I think speed wins, which was some advice that we once got from Steve Kofer, who came in our office, was sort of the best advice that he gave our team that day. We still hold on to.
I think at least in the environment that we are in, which is like the startup environment or small business environment, right? Somebody said to me that the default mode of any startup or small business is failure, right? So the whole job of an entrepreneur or a founder is to will it into existence, right? Nothing will happen unless you take the initiative to do it, right? So the thing is, you have to take the initiative to bring your company into existence. And that might mean coming to a conference like this and meeting 5 people, although you're uncomfortable introducing yourself or your business, right? Sending out those extra 3 emails, right? Or grabbing a coffee with somebody, right? So that's what you're trying to do. And it's like pushing a rock up the hill, but that's your job, right? Is to will your startup or small business into existence.
Along those lines, sorry to
It's all right, it's all right.
along those lines, one of the big things, because you are willing your company into existence, I hope you're passionate about what you're doing. Yeah. Because that's what's going to sustain you in the end. Because there are going to be lots of times, particularly if you've failed a lot early on, where you just have to come back to, what do I want to do with my life? And that's kind of the essence of being an entrepreneur.
Since they've taken all my ideas, I'm going to say it. Because I was like, it's actually the SBA.gov, we're here to be your backbone. So there you go. That's my advice to all of you.
I love that. I love that. All right. Well, thank you very much to our panel. What an exciting, amazing discussion. And with that, I think I'll turn it back over.
Thank you. If the panelists would just remain for 1 minute.
Okay.
because I and all of us are between you and food in a break, which is very important. So just a couple things. That concludes the morning program. One last round of applause for everyone that participated and helped out. And most importantly, the small businesses that are here, as well as so many that are listening online. You're taking time out of your day to improve your business, so thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Now, in terms of lunch, please enjoy the boxed lunch. We have the beautiful deck Microsoft here has overlooking the river. It's sunny out. It's a joyous day. Please go out there, network, enjoy your lunch. The programs in the afternoon will start promptly at 12:30. The business matchmaker will be in Abigail Adams, Crispus Attucks, and Clara Barton rooms. And then also at that same time, the breakout sessions, the first session, which will have two breakouts, starts at 12:30. And the first one of the two is Grow Your Business with Simple Online Marketing Strategies, which will be in a Deborah Sampson Thomas Paul room. The other session will be 50 Shades of Failure, How to Avoid Costly Business Mistakes, which will be in the Horace Mann room. Then at 1:45, the second session of breakouts will begin, and the first one is titled How to Rejuvenate Your Business and Energize Your Team, which will be in the Deborah Sampson Thomas Paul room. And the other breakout will be Finding Capital for Your Business, will be in the Horace Mann room. Please enjoy your lunch, make a lot of connections, and take advantage of this great function today. Thank you so much, everyone.